James Held, Arnfield TV, MTK Global. With me, I'm quite fortunate enough to be joined by Jack Arnfield. We're here today in Manchester. Also got Michael Jennings. How are you, sir? Also Coach Dave. How are you keeping?
How you doing? All right.
Yeah, brand new. Let's talk a little bit firstly about this fight. Huge chance for you. I know you fought for the British title before. We'll come on to that a little bit. What can you tell me about Tommy Langford?
I've watched a lot of Tommy Langford before. I've watched him throughout his career because I knew when he was British champion, I knew I wanted that British title belt. So I'm looking forward to getting in and performing well against him.
Tommy Langford has had sort of his ups and downs. That defeat against Arnfield Sidze as well comes to mind. No doubt he'll want to bounce back with a huge performance. Does that make the fight more pressure from your point of view? More exciting? What goes through your mind?
Well, you know what? He's coming off that defeat. I think he's had a win since then, so he's back on the winning side of boxing. But I'm not going to take anything other than the best Tommy Langford that's going to come on the night. So for me, he's going to come sharp and fit. No matter how he comes on, I'm still going to beat him. So. We're prepared for the best Tommy Langford, and that's what we're looking for on Saturday night.
What sort of fight do you expect it to be? Do you expect it to be an in-close sort of roughhouse sort of fight, or do you expect it to be a long, rangy, more drawn out?
Whatever comes. I mean, Tommy fights well. He's coming forward, moving in. But we're prepared for any scenario. So if you have to box him long, I'll box him long. If you have to get in and fight with him, I'll get in and fight with him. But either way, he's going to get beat in all departments.
Now, you fought for the British title before, be it on 8 days' notice. I remember that. I was there that night against Nick Blackwell. It was a great contest. Do you think having had that experience at British level stands you in better stead for this time around against Tommy Langford?
Yeah, 100%. I had 8 days' notice for it, and put up a good fight. I had a really good fight with Nick Blackwell. He won fair and square, but like I say, it didn't do me any harm. I got some good opportunities off the back of it, and since winning my WBA belt, I've had more opportunities. I think it all stems back to when I boxed Nick Blackwell. So if it weren't for that fight, I don't think I'll be fighting today, Tommy Langford, for the British.
Mike, if I could bring you in at this point, I mean, how has the link-up been going with him, and how do you think he's improved since the time you've been around him?
I mean, when Jack first came to us, you know, it was very basic. We knew what sort of things we needed to work on with him, and gradually he got better and better. He's took some fights, you know, we've been the underdog, and he's come out and he's come through them and won, which is good. That's them the sort of fights that we want anyway. We were just saying the other day to Dave, this is the best I've seen Jack since he's been with us. Everything just seems to have clicked. It's all just come. And I know you hear trainers saying that about the fighters before most of the fights, but you know what, if worst case scenario, you know, something didn't work for Jack on Saturday, and just God forbid that he got beat, we'd still say everything went well in this camp, because it did, and this is the best that we've seen Jack.
Let's talk a little bit about the main event. Coach Dave, let's bring you in. World Boxing Super Series semi-final, very exciting. Who are you sort of drawing toward out of Groves and EUBANK?
We were talking about that this morning in sparring. I'm going for George Groves. Bigger man. I think he boxes well under pressure. As you've seen against Jamie Cox, he picked a beautiful shot to finish that fight. Been in this sort of cauldron before, you know, crotch fights and things like that. So, yeah, everything to me points for George Groves. So I'm going for a George Groves win.
Jack, what are you thinking, mate? What's going through your mind?
Yeah, I'm pretty much in the same boat as Dave. I think he's just too big and too much of a clever boxer. I mean, the opposition he's been with is just a complete level above, and I think he'll show that'll show in the fight against Chris EUBANK.
Do you expect it to be similar to Billy Joe Saunders, Chris EUBANK, where Billy Joe won the early rounds with EUBANK coming into it, or do you think it'll be an all guns blazing type of affair?
You can't take anything away from Chris EUBANK. He's a serious athlete. He's always fit. He's always game, and he's shown it. Most of his fights have gone the distance. He comes on strong at the end. So I think if it goes the distance, he'll come on strong and finish well. But I still think George Groves will be too big and too clever for him.
Mike, if I can bring you in, how do you assess the main event? How do you see it playing out?
Similar to what Jack's saying there, I think if Chris EUBANK Jr. fights the way that he normally fights, coming forward, you know, letting the barrage of shots off, I think George Groves is going to land one of his big heavy shots. And you know, I've spoken to boxers who've boxed George Groves, mirroring that. He punches hard, he punches very hard, and I don't think Chris EUBANK's been in with anyone who punches as hard as Groves. So it's whether, I mean, EUBANK has still got to be tested. Has he got a good chin? If his chin's as good as his dad's, then fair play to him. You know, there's every chance that he could win, but I just find it hard to believe that he can step up in weight against one of the biggest punchers in that weight as well and not get hurt.
Do you think it'll make a difference where George Groves is natural at 168 and EUBANK maybe still finding his sort of range and feet at that weight? Do you think that'll play any part in George Groves winning the fight?
Well, yes, it's like you say, he's got that extra power because he's naturally a bigger man, and in EUBANK's last fight, I think I know EUBANK's one stopped the kid, but the weight, the size difference between them, Chris EUBANK did look a lot smaller, and I think against George Groves he's going to be definitely dwarfed against him, I would imagine.
George Groves has been a master of mind games in the past. We've seen with the Carl Froch fights. How do you think he'll handle the likes of Chris EUBANK Senior and his sort of the way his mental approach is to these sort of fights? How do you think George will deal with him?
To be fair, it's like you said, mind games. That's all it is mind games. I mean, I can't see it being too much. I can't see it playing too much of a part in the fight. To be honest with you, they both know what they've got to do. They both know what they're here for. So I just think personally that I don't think it'll affect George Groves. He's too experienced for that by now.
Prediction?
George Groves stoppage.
Mid rounds, late rounds. How do you see it?
It could go early, but at mid rounds.
All right, lads, appreciate it. Thank you very much for giving me some time today.
Cheers,
we look forward to a great fight week. Thank you. Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers.